Hello, hello, good morning, friends. How are you all? I am headed out to go do some grocery shopping and do some thrifting, maybe even find some yard sales. But we had a flash flood yesterday in our area, and my garden is really watered in. And before it started raining, I came out and I put some of the plant tone fertilizer on all of my raised beds and in my garden. So I just wanted to come out this morning and see how everything looked after the rain. I love it after the rain because it all just looks so fresh and moist, and I just love it. So my lettuce is growing like crazy. Now in this raised bed, I planted in lettuce and I planted in cucumbers, which are along the cow panel, and I have carrots and I have radishes. And I showed you the other day my radishes, so these will end up being picked, some of these this weekend, because they are ready to go. Look at the size of some of these gorgeous radishes, and I will be having a big salad with radishes in it. I just like to eat them just with salt. I think they're delicious. And I have this bed completely filled with things like herbs and carrots and radishes and lettuce. And then these are cucumbers that I actually planted. I planted this set from some that I bought at the store because I did not think that the ones were coming up that I planted with seed, and they are coming up. So I'm going to have quite a few cucumbers in here. They are spaced apart and they will be growing up the trellis, so I'm hoping that that will be enough room in there. And then my herbs are coming along so well. This is full of parsley and nasturtiums. And this one, I'm still not for sure what this is. I know it's a nasturtium, but I cannot remember which herb I planted. And the dill is doing fantastic. Once again, the same thing over here on this side with the cucumbers. And I've also planted in seeds for squash in here, which came up amazingly. Now, this is the second one of our new beds that we built this year and filled up with mushroom compost. Please ignore the weeds around the outside. We did not get that weed eated this week, so hopefully this weekend we will. And then on this side, I have green peas growing, and I'm hoping they will take over the trellis also. And they are doing pretty well too. I've never grown peas, so I don't know exactly how long it takes them. I also planted some cucamelon seeds, which I'm pretty excited to see if those come up. They're supposed to kind of look like a little watermelon, but taste like a cucumber. So I thought the kids might be kind of interested in those. And then over here, we have basil and another nasturtium, and I am going to divide these or take these apart and plant them around the box a little bit more. And in my opinion, now this is just my opinion, and a lot of herbs can be invasive, so I like growing these in pots. And let me tell you about these pots. I got these pots, and they're huge. I don't know if you can tell from here, but they are large pots. But last year at the end of summer, a friend of mine and I went to a Dollar General store, and they were having a 90% off sale on summer clearance. So I got all kinds of pots and gardening supplies, gloves and plants and fertilizers for 90% off. So that pot right there still has a sticker in it. It was $12, so I paid $1.20 for that pot. So if I can keep herbs in pots, I'm going to, because it keeps them from getting out of hand. Now over here, the peas look fantastic. Same exact planting date, pretty much the same exact everything, but this side seems to be doing better than the other side. And then I have watermelons. I have tomatoes in this bed. I have some marigolds, and I also have some green peppers. And I have staked these already. I found these I call them bean poles, bean stakes, at Winnell Lee's in Cookeville, and they were only 40 cents a piece. So a friend of mine went down and picked me up 50 of those, and my husband cut them in half because I think that's all I'll need for staking these, but they are perfect. And these are my green peppers, and as they get bigger, I will start to wrap just like, what am I trying to call it? It's like hay string. It's just a jute twine around them, and leaving lots of space for them to be able to grow, but still have them held on by the post. So over here in this bed are our onions. They are still growing really well. Starting to get weedy, but we've already started eating those. The garlic is still hanging on. I'm really excited about this garlic. I cannot hardly wait to be able to harvest this garlic. And then I have I think this is the red. I bought 2 climbing tomatoes this year, or cherry tomatoes this year. Instead of putting them in the garden, I put them in more of these pots that I had and staked them. One is a yellow and one is a red, and I cannot remember which is which. I did not keep the tag, or I have the tag, but it's inside the house. So I guess I'll see when they start making the tomatoes exactly which ones they are. And here is one of those grow stalks, is what I call them, that I got at the Dollar Tree. And the strawberries, some of these are starting to ripen. We have a really large strawberry bed, so what I do is when they get out of the bed and they start growing around the outside of it, I just dig them up and put them in my grow stalk. And so far they are all coming back. They look great, and it's so much easier to weed these. Oh my goodness. And as you see, this one looks pretty rough, but down here at the bottom I'm getting new growth, so I'm sure all of these will make it. And then I'm eventually going to put just a little clay pot that I have on top of this to cap it off and make it look better, and plant some sort of flower in there. And then here I have my jalapeno peppers. This is my water barrel. I really thought that would be fuller than it is right now because it rained so much last night. But it's so handy to have that down here, so when it doesn't rain, I've got this, and I usually keep it full. I was just hoping the rain would fill it up. I'll go ahead and pour that over in there. Whoopsie. And then here is some composting where I just stick in some of my composting things. Here is my other green peppers, and they are looking a little yellow. I fertilized everything last night. I'm hoping that that will help. I don't really like that yellow on them. I want them to be that rich green like the jalapenos. And here are the squash that I bought at the store. They're still looking good. I have started staking some of those. I take the tomato cages and I cut off about half of it, and then I stick that in the ground, and that just kind of keeps the squash up off the ground as they start growing. So I'm hoping that'll kind of keep away any kind of fungus or anything. And then in here I have some corn, and this is the peaches and cream corn. And this is the first year I've ever done this, but I bought the corn already up. It has probably doubled in size, but I don't know if it's going to get enough sun here. I really gave it a lot of fertilizer, and I made this trench down the middle. I don't know if you can hardly see that or not, just so that when I water it, it will, you know, really hold on to some water. And then I planted some more green peas that are all coming up. They will feed the ground nitrogen, and corn really loves nitrogen, so I'm hoping that they will help the corn, and then they can climb up the corn, and that will stake them. And then I have broccoli and cucumbers in here, and they're still looking good. I've got them in the shaded area for sure because they like the cooler weather. So even though the others don't like cooler weather, this is where I have to grow. This is where I've got. So this is pretty much one of the only flat spots on the property. So I think the broccoli and cauliflower will like it. We'll see how the other things do as we go along. And then I got 2 more of the grow stalks almost completely planted up last night. I have to get a few more here. This is red begonias and white petunias, and then I'm going to also pop in some blue flowers and make that like a Americana red, white, and blue grow stalk. And then this is all purple petunias and white petunias, and as you see, some of them still look pretty good, but the ones on top have been beaten pretty well by the rain last night, but they will come back out of it, and I need to pick up a couple more packs of flowers to stick in those. And then here are all of my tomatoes. I have 2 rows of different kinds of tomatoes, a few indeterminate and a few determinate. And then on the middle where I have this fencing of some sort, it's sort of like shelving is what it is. It's very sturdy. It's metal covered with a plastic coating, and I have planted on that some of the smaller like sugar baby watermelons and some smaller cantaloupes, and I'm going to try to train them up as much as I can. I know they'll end up growing over into the other parts of the garden, but it'll be okay. I'll just move them over toward the middle as much as I can and try to grow them up a little bit if I can, just to see, because the grandkids were really wanting some of those. And I've also put this, I'm just going to call it lattice, along the side of my bricks here, and I'm thinking about planting some pumpkins inside of these concrete blocks. I will fill them up with dirt and then maybe lay down a tarp with some hay over it so that they can grow up on that some and then grow out here on the pumpkins, because once again the grandkids are really wanting some melons and pumpkins. Here are my green beans. They look amazing. They're really muddy. We have them growing on cattle panels, and I think every bean that I put in the ground came up, which is amazing. But I always keep a few extra just in case, so I can go back and fill in any gaps. And then down here, which is the weediest part of the garden, I don't know exactly why. We need to clean up the edges really bad, and that would help. But I planted okra, and so, some of them came up with 2 in a spot. And see, can you tell the difference here in this and the weed? Look, okay, so this is an okra, this is a weed. You'll get used to it as you start growing, which ones are weeds and which ones are the plants. But a lot of the okra came up or is coming up. I love okra. I'm the only one in the family that eats it. So if I don't get a really big harvest of it, it'll be okay because it's mostly just for me. But in the places where I have 2, I'm going to let them get just a teeny bit better. And then I'm going to put it in the areas where the seeds did not come up. But a lot of them did come up, so I'm pretty excited about that. And then I have some stray zinnias here and there that came up from last year. They self-seeded. And in here is supposed to be spinach. I've never grown spinach before. This is a very muddy area of the garden. I don't really know if I even see any spinach coming up in there, but I'm just going to let it continue to grow because right now I don't have anything else to put in there. And then in under the netting there, I have more lettuce and more radishes, and I'm going to be doing the keep that over it because I want to make sure nothing comes in and nibbles on it, and I just think it's cute. So that's the main reason it's on there, because I think it looks good. But I'm going to have a later crop of the radishes and the lettuce, because they are some of my favorite things in the garden. But anyway, this is the way it is looking. I'm really pleased with it because I wanted to have like a little potager garden. I wanted it to be just as much decoration as useful because I just want it to be beautiful. I mean, as gardeners, we put so much time and energy into our garden, and we have so much pride in what we do with your garden because it's a lot of work. So you want it to look as good as you can, and I just think this is beautiful this year. So I'm really excited about it. I hope we get a good crop. The only thing that's really bothering me is I've not seen any bees this year. I really have not seen any bees. Last year I started seeing bees early on, and we had great bees last year, but the garden wasn't as good. This year I've taken so much better care of the garden and making sure that everything is being fertilized and watered and just trying to get in more flowers, and I've not seen any bees. So I'm a little worried about that. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to assume that I'm going to have to do some self-pollinating on the cucumbers and the squash. I've never done that before either. So I'll give it a try. The corn, I planted it really close together. So I have heard that if you just go through and rustle it some and let the stuff fall from the corn, then it will kind of help pollinate parts of the corn that isn't getting pollinated by the bees and the birds. So we'll see. We will see. This every year is just another experiment. But are you noticing bees in your area, or any of my local friends? Do you have bees yet? Because I just haven't seen anything yet. But anyway, all right, you guys, I'm gonna head into town once again and do a little bit more digging around for a few things, and I just wanted to share this garden with you again this morning. I want to keep you updated at least once a week or after every rain just to see how it does. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day, and we will see you again soon. Bye, y'all.